afternoon, all, and welcome to the June 23rd Policy Committee meeting for the Newburgh and Large City School District. We're going to open up the meeting with 1.01, 12:30 public comments at board meetings. I'm going to hand the floor over to our Deputy Superintendent, Onyx Peterson.
Okay, hello everyone. So we have item, I think it's 1.1? I have the agenda. 1.01. And it is policy 1230, the policy for public speaking. So we research, I researched this. I know that legal also researched the policy. I have a couple recommendations for the board in terms of what we can do to improve it. When researching about the proxy in general, there were definitely some concerns that were brought to us from NISBA and the open government law. And these are bodies that oversee and they give suggestions to school boards on how to ensure that they are staying in compliance. So the first thing that they were concerned about when I was researching that I was concerned about is just our residency requirement. So the current board has a residency requirement that surrounds public speaking. So that could put that into jeopardy. It also creates the verification process in terms of who lives within the district, and if that happens at a meeting instantaneously, how it can cause some concerns. I know that Mrs. May, I almost forgot your last name, Ms. May, has some things that she researched from open government that she's also going to share.
Ms. May.
I researched the question of sorry, I do this all the time. I researched the question of whether we could have a special exception just for those with disabilities, verifiable, who would like to make public comments through a virtual platform, and but not to allow others. And the Committee on Open Government basically said, and this is from one of their counsel, that it's inconsistent with the open meetings law that if they decide to, if the board wants to accept public comment remotely by a particular class, it has to accept it for everybody. So we cannot make an exception just for those with disabilities.
So, questions?
Yes, I do. So, Ms. May, could you give further explanation about the open meetings group and why we use that as a reference point in regards to this policy question?
The open meetings law is part of the public officers law, and it governs any public entities, board meetings, public board meetings, executive sessions, notice, everything having to do with meetings. The Committee on Open Government also gives advisory opinions about a variety of issues, and I asked the question specifically today. So you must comply with the open meetings law when you're having a board meeting, when you're having a committee meeting that's a board committee meeting, such as the policy committee. And you can also choose to have it apply to other committees if you wish to. But it involves everything from the notice of the meeting to minutes to public comment is by your policy. It's not in the open meetings law. But it governs what the reasons why you can go into executive session, for example, what you have to record in the minutes. So it governs everything having to do with the conduct of board meetings.
Board members, any questions in regards to that comment? Mr. Bergarelli?
Yeah, so I guess what I'm trying to understand is it NISBA's concern that were we to go ahead and carve out, a piece for one group, that we would open the door to somebody living in California wanting to call in and make comments, or anyone else? Like we wouldn't be able to stick to the policy we already have if we start
Right.
carving out specific groups.
That wasn't NISBA, that was the New York State Committee on Open Government. It may also be NISBA's concern.
Okay. So she's referencing open meeting. My research also surrounded NISBA, and just for the very reasons that you spoke to. Ambiguity, just meeting management, just order. So they advise against it because it may be uneasy to control.
Ms. Burks, do you have any questions? It's your floor.
Turn on your mic, though.
So this is a no to Kaylee's request.
No, there's a couple of recommendations that I'm going to make to the committee that there's things that we could do to just make it a little bit more accessible for disabilities. And I actually proposed within the policy a change that would allow whether it's a staff, so the clerk for assisted in writing a comment if there was more time, if there was prior notice giving. So if there's a community member with a disability that wanted to make a comment, they would have access to the clerk to come in, to sit, to construct, and that comment could be made in public. It would have to go along those lines, and we would have to have advance notice. But at the meeting, if there is a person with a verified disability, if there's a need for assistive technology, then that allows us the ability to make it accommodating, but that work would be done with the clerk.
Does that answer your question, Ms. Burke?
Not all the way. So they got to come in specifically. They can't call in. They can't email.
Oh, yeah, they can call.
Okay.
Those venues are all open to all members of the community now. They can reach out to the board and the clerk via email or via phone. But if there's a statement that they wanted to construct and they wanted assistance doing that, the clerk could help them. So I did add a new paragraph.
Okay, I see it.
The district is committed to providing reasonable accommodations for individuals with disabilities who wish to participate and communicate with the board. A request for accommodations should be directed to the Board of Education clerk no later than 48 hours prior to a board meeting. Written comments may be submitted at any time to the Board of Education, and then the information for the contact at 124 Grant Street. So those are the things that could happen if a person with a disability. So just opening up the language a little bit more to be more accessible.
Thank you.
Okay, so I purposely asked those questions, Ms. Peterson and Ms. May, because I wanted Katie to understand that we didn't take this lightly, and it really was a committee work that went into trying to find a way to make these things happen, understanding your original intent of your question. And I think that we were trying to err on the side of what's right in regards to NSBA and the open meetings law. But I think what Ms. Peterson has come up with is something that would help make some of that come to fruition, the intent of the questions that were asked in regards to using a proxy, someone speaking for you. So this is a live document. It's a real document. So as we learn more and we understand more, we can look at it and address it more. But this is what has come back from our legal, and this is what has come back from this committee. And I want to just thank for the question, which was a great question, and continue advocating as you do. Thank you.
So for this policy, there was a couple of things that I think should be added. The first thing is just the email address, to see if I can get a standard email address that can be written to policy that could last a long time.
Okay.
And then also, if an individual with disability wishes to communicate,
Wishes to make public comment or communicate.
make public comments, so we can put that public comment piece in
Okay.
there.
You don't participate.
You put
Correct.
make public comment. So what I can do is I can make those two small revisions and place it on the July 1 for first read.
That's
An
awesome,
adjustment?
because
Okay.
we'll have Mr. McCoy streamline it, put the corrections and the additions to it, and then we'll come forth with a clean copy.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Ms. Peterson.
So the next one is 102. 1.02. So that is Mrs. Roing, and she's going to talk about the extra classroom activities fund.
Thank you, Ms. Roaring.
Good evening.
Good evening.
It was requested that we look at a means or mechanism by which we could reallocate funds from what are being considered dormant student activities at this time. We've had some clubs that have not had any transactional work in several years. However, we have also discovered that doesn't mean the club isn't operating. It just means they're not fundraising or spending any money. So it's going to require a deeper look to make sure that we're not reallocating funds for a club that's currently active. But in consultation with our auditors, they provided this information to us. We drafted this policy that talks about ways in which those funds could be reallocated if it was determined to be a dormant club that was not going to revive itself, or a class that's graduated.
Yes.
Sometimes there's funds left over and what that would look like. So we're presenting this tonight for your consideration and feedback.
Board members, any questions in regards to this? Ms. Burke? So I do have a question for you, Ms. Roaring. So let's say a graduating class. So that would have to be in writing from that class that this money is to be rolled over into XYZ account and for, make it clean. Instead of just taking and rolling it, but it should come from that class, from that group
And-
that is being rolled over to a specific account or to a general account.
Either. So if that class is graduating and there's any funds left over, they can decide whether or not they want to give it to the next year's senior class to support
Right.
their prom, if they want to give it to student government to do something for the school, if they want to do a gift for the building.
Right.
There's lots of ways they can use that fund. It's really calling the question at the end of that year when they're getting ready to graduate and they know what they have left.
Okay.
What do they want to do with it? And if they do not make that decision, this gives us a mechanism to make that decision on
Okay,
their
thank you.
behalf.
Does this need to say that it's upon the request of the graduating class?
In which section?
Graduating classes?
When that process takes place.
Because we're talking about them, the graduating class, deciding, but wouldn't that be,
Well, they would do that through typical formal action for any disbursement, so in extra classroom activities. They would meet, and there would be minutes of that meeting where a vote is taken, and that would determine where the money goes, and then we would
I
execute
just want
that.
to make sure that it's not just, one person making a
No, it would not
decision.
be.
Okay, thank you. Anything else on that? Thank you, Ms. Roaring.
Thank you.
And, okay, so I'm gonna get this together, 1.03, I have Christina Torres, our Director of Food Services, who is going to just give us an update on our wellness program, our wellness regulation that oversees certain aspects. The last time the board, that we've kind of looked at this is back in 2017. So Christina, if you could just give us an overview of what some of the updated, changes are by section, or what
Can I
you
do a
think?
quick intro because I want to make sure we've captured everything?
Yes.
So we did do our triennial review as required back in 2023. There was a little bit of dormant period. I want to note that the policy was not recommended for change in 2020 or 2023, nor are we recommending a change to the policy tonight. But we did want to come and share with the committee the regulation changes that we are making in the background, and that is based on Ms. Torres's leadership of a committee to review that. And we had our Director of Health and PE, our Director of Athletics, we had Ms. Patsalos, and we had a couple of other assistant superintendents and myself participate on that to make sure that we're current. And the committee has made a decision that it will meet annually going forward. We won't wait for the next triennial review, so this will become more of a living document.
Hi, good evening. So for the regulation, there weren't many things to be changed about it. What we did update were the sources referenced. So instead of the Dietary Guidelines for Americans 2010, we used the Dietary Guidelines for Americans 2020. This updated document focused on dietary pattern versus micronutrients, so we took those recommendations out. Another update was in the safety guideline section. So there was a elaboration on the health and safety rules, specifically on minimizing student exposure to hazardous environmental factors. And then in the supervision section, there is mention of FERPA and how that has to be followed. Other than that, there were no meaningful updates.
Board members, any questions in regards to this
No.
resolution? None? Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
That's all that I have this evening.
Chair will entertain a motion to close.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you, and we'll see you at the July 1st meeting.